So let's say you're working on your 1970 through 1975 Citroen Maserati SM, and you're trying to get it going. However, your oil cooler lines look a bit weird. Under no circumstances should you run that engine with those oil cooler lines. Allow me to explain why. These are the original style lines that came out of the car, and as you can see, they look terrible. They are extremely fragile, and that is because of the way they are built. Let me explain how they're built. So, these oil cooler lines, simply put, are simple rubber lines. You know, they are not heat treated, they are not corrugated, they're not fancy. They're normal rubber lines like you'd find in something like a fuel line or a return line for the hydraulic system. Even those are a bit beefier than these, but they're rubber lines wrapped in cloth and wire, just to make it so it's a bit stronger. Now, unfortunately, what happens with these lines is the cloth holds moisture. The moisture rots out the wires snap, your lines hemorrhage, boom goes your engine, $10,000 engine rebuild, you got a problem. They do make new versions of these lines that aren't like this, but I think I was quoted like $450 to replace them. I would like to note that these are $450 a piece. And to be honest, I don't have $450 to replace these, so I found different lines. These lines, to be exact, these are 108-inch, 1/2-inch NPT lines that I bought off Surplus Center for $25 a piece, $32 if you want to include shipping. Now, the thing is with these lines is they are good to 3,000 psi and 300 degrees, but they have a 1/2-inch NPT end. The Citroen lines have a very special end that is flared out to seal. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make an adapter for those. Alright, so what you want to do, you want to take your old oil cooler line and cut this cloth rubber mess off. Alright, with that cut right off on the edge, we're going to take a hacksaw and very carefully cut this at an angle to avoid cutting the fitting. So let me show you how to do that. So what I do is I put it in a vise, I take the hacksaw and I cut it like this. Now, you might need to chisel it off at the end if it doesn't get the little burr, but you do not want to push this too hard. You just want to get it enough to get this metal piece off, because the only thing separating the metal piece from what you're actually trying to save is a little tiny piece of rubber, and if you cut that and you cut through that, you're doomed. So let's do that. Alright, and I have that peeled off. Another thing I would like to note is do not tighten it in the vise too hard, because if you tighten it in the vise too hard, you will deform the central cylinder, and if you deform the central cylinder, it's ruined. Now we have it at this stage, and what you want to do now, very lightly, take the hacksaw and cut the wire around this rubber piece. Very lightly.
La, la, la. That's what I'm talking about. Wow!
Alright, now with the rubber piece removed, we can see I did cut this a little bit, but that is almost nothing. That is less than 1/1000th down. It just basically scratched it. So we're good. What we're going to do now, we're going to take the fitting off, put this to the side. Do not forget about this. Just put it to the side, and we're going to throw this in the lathe. Now, with this piece in the lathe, we're going to turn the end 1/2 inch down to 0.625 to fit into our adapter. That's what you want. We want to take our adapter. It just has to be a slip fit. That's perfect. Now, clean up the piece in a wire wheel. With the piece cleaned up, put the fitting on. Make sure you put the fitting on. That is something you cannot forget to do. So you put the fitting on and start putting it together. The adapter is a 1/2 inch sweat and 1/2 inch NPT fitting used for plumbing applications. Now, the best way to put this together would probably be brazing it, but I'm going to solder it because I have solder that's good to about 600 degrees, and if this gets to 600 degrees, we got a problem because the lines are only rated to like 300. And just like that, I soldered it from the inside and the outside a bit. The outside doesn't like sticking as much because it's such a tight fit, but the inside, because it's tapered slightly, it'll leak down into it. But there we go. That is the fitting, that's the adapter I made, and repeat this 4 times like I did, and then throw on your $25 lines